And welcome back, and it is the 3rd of April, further maths 5 a day. Let's just jump straight in. First question, the nth term of a quadratic sequence. Now, it's important because it actually tells you it's quadratic and it also tells you the nth term, but sometimes the fact it tells you that means it's telling you something about the first and second differences, but in this case, not much information. And then it says, work out the difference between the 10th term and the 15th term. So actually this is a relatively straightforward one, isn't it? I'm going to work out U15, I'm going to work out U10, I'm going to take them away, and I'm going to get my answer. Now, just to be slightly different, I'm going to try and do it in one go. So let's write it out. So U15 is going to be 15 squared. I'm basically putting numbers into my formula. Minus 4 times 15 plus 9. And then I'm going to take away 10 squared. So I'm now putting 10 into the formula. Minus is a plus, so be careful. And minus 9. I will say this hasn't saved me a lot of time. The 9's cancel, so that gives me 15 squared is 225, minus 60, minus 100, plus 40. Again, this isn't necessarily the most efficient, but marginally quicker. And that gives me 105. So my final answer, the difference is 105. Next question. Work out the rate of change of y with respect to x when x equals 3. Now, a comment I've made a few times before, you will learn something called the product rule and the quotient rule, and temptation will be to use that when you learn it. Actually, to be honest, I still wouldn't use the product rule or the quotient rule. I would just simplify first, so split into two fractions. So that's 2x to the power of 6 divided by x to the power of 3, which is 2x cubed. And then I'm taking away x to the power of 5 over x to the power of 3, and so that gives me x squared. In other words, I've split my fraction into two. And now I've got something I can differentiate, because up until A level, you only learn how to differentiate what's called sort of standard polynomial terms. What do? So dy dx, write down dy dx is equal to bring down the power, which is 6, take away 1 from the power, bring down the power, take away 1 from the power. That has given me my gradient function, and then it says what is the rate of change or gradient when x equals 3. So I'm going to write x equals 3, which implies 6 times 3 squared. Well, 3 squared is 9, so that's 6 times 9, minus 2 times 3, which is the same as 56 minus 6, 54 minus 6, sorry, can't do maths, which is 48, 54, yeah, 48. Got there. Next question. Below is a graph of find where the coordinates of crosses the axis. Okay, this is very close to verging on a sort of first year AS type question. Gives you a graph, I want you to interpret the graph and then do some maths to get some certain answers. What I would notice, what you need to know is, I don't know how explicit this is said at further maths, but it is the case that if I can solve this, so for example, what I mean is, let's say I can write this in the function x minus a, x minus b, x minus c, it's a cubic. Well, I know that my x-intercepts are a, b, and c. So what it's basically saying is, can you factorise and then interpret the factorisation? It does, however, importantly tell me that one of the roots is minus 6, which means that I know I must be able to write y as x plus 6, because minus 6 implies plus 6 as a factor, times, now you've seen me do this a few times before, so I'm going to do it again. What do I need to multiply x by to get 5x cubed? Well, it's going to be 5x squared. And then what do I need to multiply 6 by to get 12? Is going to be plus 2. So far, pretty straightforward. Then the hard bit. X times 2 is 2x, but I want minus 40x. So I need another, because remember I'm plus 2x, so I need minus 40. So I need to take away 42x by multiplying this by something. And the something I'm going to multiply by is minus 7x. And that's it. Managed to do it by just inspection, as we call it. Now, to be clear, if you did the algebraic division method, absolutely fine as well. But that's obviously a slightly quicker and a bit of a faster way of getting there. Only do that if you feel comfortable. Easy to mess that one up. I haven't finished, because it tells me in the question that I'm going to be able to factorise this down to 2 roots. So therefore I can have a good guess again. You know, I like to guess these things if you've seen my videos before. It's definitely going to be a 5x, and it's definitely going to be an x. Now I know, because that's a minus and that's a plus, that these are going to be minuses here. So that's good. And then I really need to think about basically where's the 2 go and where's the 1 go, because 2 times 1 is 2. Now I want minus 7. So therefore it must be the case that I'm doing 5 times minus 2, yeah, that's right. So the minus 2 must go here and the 1 must go here, because 5 times minus 1 is minus 5, minus a 2 is minus 7, and that gives me what I need. Crucially, that means that one of my roots is minus 6, that's the one I have already. One of my roots is 2/5, and one of my roots is 1. So if I go back to the question says find the coordinates of the points A and B from the graph. So by inspection, really good words to use in maths because it means I've looked at a graph. You don't have to explain why it length. You say by inspection, well, A is going to be equal to the smaller number, so that's going to be 2/50. And B is going to be equal to the larger number, which is 1, 0. And that's it, we got there. Nice question, good. I mean, pretty much a sort of early A-level standard question, but good question. Next and final question today. The coefficient of x squared in the term of this is this, find A. Now, when you're doing one of these questions, first thing is which row am I using? I'm using the 5th row. So therefore it's going to be 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. Pascal's triangle, just good to learn these numbers, even if you have to write them out a few times. Then I want to get x squared. Well, this is going to be x to the 5, this is going to be x to the 4, x to the 3, x squared. So that's the coefficient I want. So in other words, 10 times 2x, remember I'm squaring it, times a, 5 minus 2 is 3. So in other words, these two numbers will start to give me the n power. And that is all equal to 13720 x squared. Now, I can cancel my x squareds and I can do some expanding. So 10 times 2 times 2 is 40. So therefore 40a cubed must be equal to 13270. Now, don't know my 40 times table, but I'm hoping when I put this in my calculator, 13720 divided by 40 and press equals, I'm going to get a cube number, I hope. And I do, thankfully. I get that a cubed is equal to 343. In other words, a is equal to 7. And good final question. These questions are definitely getting a bit more challenging. Not too hard, but just a bit more challenging. Check you understand it. Let me know how you did as ever. Do like, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks all.